Welcome back to FSD TV. I'm your host, Mark Sonny, and today we have a special guest with us. Her name is Leslie Hernandez, and she's going to show us an experiment about states of matter. So Leslie, take it away.
Hi, so I'm Ms. Hernandez and I teach at Golden Hill. I'm super excited to be here with you. Hopefully we learned something new. Today we're going to be doing a mini science experiment. We're actually going to be exploring something called states of matter. So in order to do that, we're going to need a container. So a plastic container like this works. I prefer that it's transparent, meaning that you can see through, so we can kind of see what's going on. But if you don't have a transparent container, it works. And then some cornstarch and some water. Optional would be food coloring if you want to change colors, but just for the purpose of our experiment today, I'm not going to add some food coloring. So before we get started with our science experiment, I want to review some vocabulary. So earlier I mentioned we're going to be talking about states of matter. So most things on our Earth fall into one of three categories. That would be a solid, a liquid, or a gas. So again, almost anything we can think of falls into one of the three categories. So our first vocab is going to be a solid. So a solid has distinct properties. So properties is what makes up a solid. So one thing is that it does not change, meaning it stays the same. It has a shape, a definite shape. Again, it means that it doesn't change. So this right here is actually a microscopic picture of a solid. So this means if I were to take a solid and put it under a microscope, this is what it would look like. These little round things in here are called particles. This makes up, again, almost everything within our planet. If you notice, there is no space between the particles. They're all really, really close together and they can't move. And that's why this remains a solid, because it doesn't move. There's no room for it to move. Some examples would be a diamond, a book, a car, or any other thing, again, that has a definite shape and that doesn't change. Our next vocab that we're going to be looking at is going to be a liquid. So a liquid is, it takes the shape of its container. So meaning if I put the liquid within a container, it's going to take the shape of that container. For example, I have water. So if I have a glass of water, if I pour the water in it, the liquid is going to take the shape of the glass. If I have, let's say, a bowl that's shaped like a circle and I pour the liquid, now the liquid's going to change shapes and it's going to turn into a circle. Again, I could keep changing the container and the shape will keep changing. If I were to put this under a microscope and see what it would look like, it would look something like this. So you could still see the particles, but now you're starting to see some space in between the particles. So these particles are now able to move a little bit. So that's what gives water or any liquid the consistency that it has that allows it to like move. So again, there's a little bit of movement. And then our third state is going to be a gas. So a gas is a little bit different from the other two because this one has no shape. Even if you put it in a container, it doesn't necessarily have a shape or you can't see it. It's hard to see. If we put it under a microscope, it looks like this. So we have particles, but there's a lot of space in between them. So this allows the particles to move around, and that's what makes it hard for us to be able to see. Some examples of a gas would be within a balloon. So if you put a balloon, what makes it go up is helium. Helium is a type of gas. Now, if we were to look inside a balloon, you wouldn't necessarily be able to see anything in there. That is a gas. Another example would be like if you boil water or if you're cooking something, sometimes you can kind of see the steam going up. That is a different form of a gas. So again, we have three vocab words: solid, liquid, and gas. So as I mentioned previously, almost everything falls into one of those three categories. So anything that you can think of, a car, that would be a solid. If you think of juice, that would be a liquid. So again, look around your house and see if you can categorize and see if each one of those things falls into one of the three categories. Okay, so what we're going to be doing with our science experiment is we're going to be seeing if it's true that everything falls into one of the three categories. I'm going to be creating something called oobleck. Now, the term oobleck actually comes from Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss has a really great book about oobleck. It's a fun read, so I recommend that you take a look at it and read it. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to add some cornstarch. So what I did is I measured the cornstarch ahead of time just because it gets kind of messy. And I put 2 cups of cornstarch in here. So cornstarch kind of looks like flour, and it's super fun to play with. But again, it gets messy, so I recommend that you have something to clean with afterwards. And it's okay if it gets on your clothes because you could always wash it. It won't stay. So there's my cornstarch. Again, 2 cups of cornstarch. And then I'm going to take some water. So what I have is 1 cup of water in here. So when you are doing this, if you don't want to add all 2 cups of cornstarch, you could do less. You could do a cup. What matters is that whatever amount of cornstarch you use half the amount of water. So if I do 1 cup of cornstarch, you're going to do half a cup of water, so on and so forth. So I'm going to add the water very, very slowly. Okay, so I added slowly so I can kind of start seeing the consistency of it. I'm going to put my water down. So it starts getting harder and harder to mix, and that's when you kind of know you need to keep adding some more water. So again, it does get messy, so warning ahead of time. So just mix it. Keep mixing it. Maybe use some muscles in there. So see, you're getting a little workout, working out your muscles, your arms. And you can kind of already start seeing the oobleck to form. So look at the consistency of this. So if you notice when I lift it, it kind of starting to look a little bit like slime. So this still needs some more mixing. Okay, so already, what are you guys thinking? Are you guys thinking this is going to be a liquid, a solid, or a gas? So I just added the rest of my water. And you want to make sure that all of the cornstarch is mixed in really well. See, so I'm already having a little bit of a hard time. I can feel my muscles already working to try to mix it. And if you want to add some color, you would be adding some food coloring. So with the food coloring, make sure that you mix it with the water before you put it into your cornstarch mixture. So this is pretty much done. As you can see, it's pretty quickly, so you won't be mixing too much. Now what we're going to do is we're going to try to explore and figure out what category this falls into. So as I'm moving it and mixing it, I'm already thinking of what it could be. So when I say categories, I'm thinking which state of matter. Do you think it's a liquid? Do you think it's a solid? Or do you think it's a gas? All right, so while I mix, let's go ahead and ask our friend Gage over here. Gage, what do you think this will be? Do you see it? Do you think this is going to be a liquid? Do you think it's going to be a solid? Or do you think it's going to be a gas? So we're going to go ahead and find out, and we're going to help Gage figure it out to see if together we can find out what category this fits into. All right, perfect. So here I have it. So I'm going to move the fork out of the way. All right. So if you look at it, I think I added too much liquid, but actually it'll work. So I'm going to add just a little bit more of the cornstarch just to get the consistency just a little bit more. All right, and then just mix it on it. And it's super easy to mix, so there you have it. This is what I love about science, is that sometimes it just takes some exploring to get the right amount. Most of the time you're going to have it very calculated, but sometimes just adding a little bit more and experimenting it's what's nice about science. All right, so there I have it. Perfect. Okay, so what do you guys think? Do you guys think this is a liquid, or do you think it's a solid? So first impressions for me is that it's a liquid, because if I move it, you can see it has the consistency of a liquid. So again, a liquid, when we looked at our vocab earlier, was something that takes the shape of the container. In this case, it's taking the shape of the container, and it's moving freely because the particles are not as close together. However, watch this. So if I were to punch this, or if I were to put my hand in it really hard, I wonder if my hand would go through. So I'm going to go ahead and try it. Do it with this hand. Okay, so I don't know if you can hear that, but if you can kind of see, my hand doesn't necessarily go through when I first punch it. Okay, that is because this is possibly acting as a solid as well. So, Gage, what do you think? Gas, liquid, or solid, right? Who knows? It's a mystery. Actually, I have the answer for you. This oobleck is actually neither a solid nor a liquid. It is actually something called a non-Newtonian fluid. So what a non-Newtonian fluid is, it's something that acts like something, so meaning it acts like a solid and it acts like a liquid, but it's neither one. It's just a non-Newtonian fluid. So oobleck actually does not follow the rules of states of matter. It wants to be its own thing. So what's really cool about oobleck, and again, is if you grab it, you can make it into a solid and form a ball with it or different shapes. But if you were to let it pours more like a liquid. So again, it's not necessarily a solid, but it's also not a liquid. It is just a non-Newtonian fluid. So quick recap. So again, solid, liquid, gas, different states of matter. Oobleck does not fit into either one of these. Well, I hope you liked our lesson today, and I hope you have some fun playing with oobleck. It is super fun to play with. It's kind of like slime. And then just as a special kind of assignment, try leaving your oobleck for a few hours on its own or overnight. Come back to it and then try to see what happens. Maybe I can hear from you and you can post some pictures and we can kind of see your experiments and what you see happens with the oobleck when you leave it standing. So thanks for watching. Again, I hope that you enjoyed it. Playing with oobleck is super fun. Again, I'm so excited. We miss you. Don't forget that your teachers love you and we miss you so, so, so much. Okay, so thanks again.
Thank you so much, Leslie, and I must say that looked delicious. On behalf of everyone here at FSD TV, I'm your host, Mark Sonny, and come back again.